The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The next 2 weeks will be crucial in determining if the country can handle rising COVID-19 cases. That's according to Health Secretary Francisco Duque in an interview with the Philippine Star. He says the next couple of weeks will show if the preventive measures and heightened pandemic response have been truly effective. He adds that there is a possibility that the relaxing of restrictions, along with the prevalence of different variants of COVID, may have caused the spike of cases. Secretary Duque also says while there is a definite increase in cases, the health system is not yet overwhelmed. The MMDA will review quarantine policies in NCR due to the surge in cases resulting to quarantine facilities nearing full capacity. MMDA Chairman Benher Abelos said the situation is very alarming, so they are now looking for hotels in nearby provinces to serve as isolation facilities. At least 9 hotels in the metro that were converted to quarantine sites are now 89% full, and one in Manila is now 98% occupied. Abelos is set to meet with NCR mayors to discuss issues such as age-based restrictions and allowing group gatherings. Meanwhile, a special advisor to the National Task Force Against COVID-19 attributes the surge in cases to the supposed carelessness of the public and the non-compliance with health protocols. Speaking with us earlier, Dr. Ted Herbosa said that the public is being too lax in observing minimum health standards, which resulted in the spike in infections. Herbosa adds that the situation was exacerbated by the emergence of new variants.
We can see more people interacting, and that's a possibility for increased transmission. The second is people becoming careless, using less face cover, the face shield and the face mask when they interact with people. There is that side possibility that the variants have also entered, and indeed there are reports of different variants in different places where we have clustering or increase in number of cases.
Despite the surge, Herbosa assures the public that the country's critical utilization rate has not gone up to 50%. The Philippine General Hospital, for one, has opened another COVID-19 ward to accommodate more patients. But Herbosa calls for the public's stricter compliance with health protocols.
You have nothing to worry about. The doctors and the health system can still cope. But we need to do the prevention mode. We need to be stricter and conscious about making sure we don't catch the virus.
Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion sees the country's economy recovering in the fourth quarter of the year due to the vaccine rollout. With this, Concepcion urges the government to further open the economy and place the entire Philippines under modified general community quarantine. Concepcion said that the arrival of Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines signaled the start of the country's economic recovery. He is confident that the economy will bounce back by the fourth quarter if the vaccine rollout goes well. To give us more insight on this, we have with us Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Go Negosyo founder, Sir Joey Concepcion. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ria.
Sir, do you think sir, we should reopen the economy given the COVID infections rate that we are seeing?
Well, it's an evolving situation. I mean, as I said, I believe the economy will bounce back in the fourth quarter, and I've mentioned the various reasons why it will, with all the... And ultimately, we really have to open the economy, or else we will not be able to save the livelihoods of many of our micro and small entrepreneurs. Now, of course, the evolving situation with the new variants coming in poses another concern, well, we have to continue to be vigilant. We are not off the hook yet. I mean, the vaccines are starting to arrive, and we hope that it will ramp up towards now and May onward, with the private sector vaccines arriving May, June, and third quarter as well. So we have to prepare. And of course, if the situation becomes uncontrollable, then it will have to be deferred. No? And ideally, the target to open the economy would hopefully be sometime in May, no, to prepare everybody to be able to secure their financing requirements to fund their inventory so that they will prepare for the fourth quarter, which I believe will be a good momentum for many of our MSMEs who have been challenged. Now, there are certain sectors that maybe we can defer. For example, like opening of movie theaters. I think that that can be deferred until we are really sure. The tourism sector really is quite challenged, and I think we have to try to find a way on how to allow domestic tourism. Now, that all depends if this variant, whether it's the UK or South African variant, will really proliferate all over the Philippines, then things will change. No? And let's pray that that doesn't happen, because then that will set us back further.
Sir, if stricter quarantine policies are imposed in NCR, again, because of the number that is rising, would the economy be able to stand it?
Definitely, it will be very difficult, because it's like people are barely surviving, and this is a blow. Now, we basically, the president has adopted a granular type of lockdown, where you just don't lock the entire Metro Manila. You lock down barangay and sitios that are high in infection, and the moment that they are fine, then you can already remove the lockdown. So I think the approach should be on that same thing, no? So you don't disrupt the entire economy of the country, no? So certain LGUs that are able to really prevent infection from rising are rewarded with allowing their economic activity to continue and even further open up, and that should still be the same. And I've said that ever since last year, that we should do away with massive and in the entire lockdown. So I think the approach of granularized lockdown should still continue.
Sir, what will spur economic recovery by the fourth quarter as you projected?
Well, of course, the elections are coming in 2022, and I believe the fourth quarter will be the start of all this excitement, and people will start to spend Christmas spending, election spending, and on top of that, the economic stimulus packages that the economic team has prepared, no? From the Bayanihan to the Create, and so many others. Now, if the economy is not open and all of the stimulus packages are laid out, we might just be wasting all of this funding, because the engine of the economy is not running well, no? So if it's not running well and you're trying to gas it up and re-energize it with money, basically going back to the hands of entrepreneurs to give them a chance, then you will just waste it, because many of them will be closed, no? So these are the challenges I'm saying, and but I'm still optimistic, no, that I think with the arrival of the vaccines, and you've seen that in the rest of the world, no, Europe, the cases would go up and then would go down, even America, up and down. So I believe as the vaccines do arrive, and I'm optimistic that with the help of Secretary Galvez and the entire efforts that the private sector has placed, no, buying its own vaccines for its employees, and so we have secured AstraZeneca, Moderna, and now Novavax vaccines, and we're looking at other vaccines that the private sector can bring in for the employees. And that's a big help to the government. It's, I mean, we're the only country in the world that you see the private sector really buying vaccines for its employees, because we really want to see the economy also open safely. And I believe the only way to open it safely is to really vaccinate the entire citizens of our country, and that is what we're trying to do. No? So the arrival of the vaccines, the convincing of our people to be vaccinated, and of course the implementation. No? Hopefully the implementation will come out. We will be able to vaccinate as many people as we can without problems, and we will achieve our goals towards the end of the year. Now, if that doesn't happen, then you will have mutations moving forward, and that's I guess the scientists have predicted all of these mutations. If you move slowly on your vaccination program, then the virus will keep you mutating.
Sir, with that being said, which industries do you think should be prioritized for reopening?
Well, we have already reopened the restaurants, and we have to allow them to have more activity, which means more traffic in the malls. We have to allow the seniors and the children to come in, okay? But then again, I mean, this new thing of the variants coming in, let's wait in and let's see. The president anyway is not saying let's open. I mean, he deferred the opening as recommended by the economic team, and I'm hoping to see May as the beginning of that. No, so we still have 2 months to that. Now, when really bulk of the vaccines, about 17 million from AstraZeneca, will be arriving May, June, and all the way to the third quarter. You have also Moderna, which hopefully arrives even late second quarter, third quarter, and COVAX also will be arriving. So I believe that sometime May, June allows all the entrepreneurs to really prepare for a strong fourth quarter.
Sir, can you give us updates on private sector's initiatives to augment the government's vaccine supply?
Well, 2.6 million of the AstraZeneca vaccines purchased by the private sector will arrive on May and June, and that's coming from the Thailand factory, and there is no delay according to the CEO of AstraZeneca. And the balance of about close to 15 million will be arriving on the third quarter, July, August, and September. This is for both the 340 companies that the private sector ordered and 39 LGUs that ordered AstraZeneca vaccines. On top of that, Moderna, I believe, I was told about 8 million doses will be arriving for the private sector on that same period. And right now, the Dose of Hope Go Negosyo is supporting Faberco and Unilab. These are the distributors bringing Novavax, which is a very good vaccine, I'm told, and it prevents. It has good protection for the variants. No, so that will arrive also maybe towards the late third quarter as well. No, so we hope that all of these vaccines will be here, and the companies are preparing on the programs and how they will execute this together with the Department of Health.
Sir, finally, we want to get your thoughts about the proposed no vaccine, no work policy contemplated by some companies. What do you think?
Well, I think what we are trying to do, and so far we have over 1,200 companies that are in our network who are buying vaccines and who tend to purchase more vaccines. And we're encouraging them, do not force your employees in that manner. You have to just try to encourage them, give them the right information, and at least now, Secretary Galvez has allowed the owners, the executives, the managers, the supervisors to be vaccinated as well, no? And that's good, no? So if we have to be the first, if the CEO has to be the first, like managers, then we will be the first to show them that these vaccines are the best vaccines that the private sector ordered, and we made sure of that. No, we are spending for it, and that they have to be. They have to, for us to win this war against COVID-19, being called to vaccinate is our only weapon. Because if we buy the vaccines and our people will not vaccinate themselves, or it will be a very poor showing, then we will not win this war. We will, in fact, waste money in buying the vaccines, and we will not achieve herd immunity. So, but from what I've seen, no, especially in our company, we have had resistance, but we were able to convince all of them to take the vaccines with the proper information and the reassurance that if something happens to them medically, they lack sick leaves, we will provide the sick leaves for them. We will provide and cover them with the hospitalization anyway, with the indemnification law. The private sector and the pharmaceutical companies are all protected under PhilHealth. So, but again, as I said, buying the vaccine is one thing. The second thing is getting majority or almost everyone to vaccinate themselves is the ultimate thing to win this war and eventually open up the economy. Because if we don't open up the economy, we will waste what the economic team has gotten approval for in terms of stimulus package. And many of our people will lose their jobs, and the Philippine economy will be in deep problem because of our borrowings that we use to help restart the economy. And if that's not going to materialize in saving many of our entrepreneurs, then this will be a problem. You will have a health problem and you will have a serious economic problem. So my call to the Filipino people is vaccinate yourself, and let's not choose whatever vaccine is available out there. Take it, because at least it will prevent you from serious illness and even death.
Thank you, sir, for your insights and for your time. That was Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Sir Joey Concepcion. Meanwhile, Puerto Princesa opens up a new cruise port which can accommodate up to 25,000 passengers. In addition to this, the city has received 5,000 Sinovac doses which will help Puerto Princesa to reopen their economy. Gerald de la Peña with the story.
A new port project is now open in Puerto Princesa in Palawan despite the pandemic. This is the Puerto Princesa Cruise Port and Facilities. The 3.5 billion peso project is aimed at welcoming international tourists from cruise companies. But this is only partially open as the government has yet to finish the remaining 20% of the project, which is expected to be completed by August. The facility can accommodate up to 25,000 passengers at a time. Eventually, the facility will also house commercial establishments. This is expected to give tourism a boost, which is one of the province's primary sources of income.
Kasi international ang market pagdating sa tourism dito, because the sites here, including the underground rivers, are internationally known tourism sites. So in order for us to promote that, we need international standard structures katulad ng cruise port na to.
Puerto Princesa is also the gateway to other tourist destinations such as El Nido, San Vicente, and Taytay. In addition to this, Palawan is being primed as a center for conventions. Local officials say the project is very timely as the national government brought more than 5,000 doses of Sinovac vaccines here on Friday. Puerto Princesa Mayor Lucilo Bayron said this will be a big help for the local economy, which was severely affected by the pandemic.
Talagang hirap na ang economy, and nakikita namin na yung vaccination program will allow us to open up the economy.
The provincial government of Puerto Princesa says the vaccines will be distributed to the hospitals in the northern and southern portions of the province as well as in Culion. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Now, under a new bilateral agreement, the Philippines may again deploy OFWs to the UAE starting March 31st. This after UAE inhibited foreign embassies from verifying domestic helper contracts in 2014, effectively stopping deployment of workers. Faith Del Mundo with a report.
After 7 years, the Philippines can now again deploy workers to the United Arab Emirates. At the Laging Handa briefing yesterday, Labor Secretary Silvestro Bello III said they had a joint committee meeting and signed a bilateral agreement allowing OFW deployment to UAE beginning March 31.
Magandang balita, pwede nang mag-deploy muli ng ating mga OFWs or especially yung ating mga household service workers. After 7 years, wala tayong bilateral agreement with them. Kaya hindi tayo makapag-deploy ng ating mga OFW doon. Sa dahilanan na ayaw nila na yung standard contract ay mapirmahan ng 4 na tao. Ang gusto kasi ng UAE government, 2 lang ang pipirma doon sa standard contract.
Deployment of workers ceased in 2014 when the UAE government refused a 4-party contract that would have provided security to Filipino workers. In this 4-party contract, the signatories are the employer, the employee, the foreign recruitment agency, and the local recruitment agency. The contract also provides that the OFW may keep their passport and mobile phone. They will also have regular sleeping hours and can finally cook or choose their own food. OFWs will also be entitled to 1 paid day off per week, and original employers must consent before they are transferred to a different employer. The agreement also provides that the UAE government will no longer allow the conversion of tourist visas into working visas without the approval of the Philippine Labor Attaché in the place of deployment. Meanwhile, Bello also says the no vaccine, no work policy is illegal, after labor groups raised concerns that some private firms are considering to impose such policy.
Illegal yan. Hindi pwede na pilitin mo ang isang tao na magpabakuna kung ayaw niya. And lalong hindi pwede na gawin mong kondisyon para makapasok siya na kailangan mabakunahan mo na siya. That is a very illegal policy, John. Hindi pwede yan. Kung ayaw ng tao magpabakuna, hindi mo siya mapilit. Pero having said that, Aldo, ako'y nakikiusap sa ating mga kababayan, kapag nandyan na ang bakuna, magpabakuna na tayo. Yan ang the best way for us to ensure our return to normalcy. Yan po. Maliwanag Aldo, yung no vaccine, no work is an illegal policy, and I am assuring everybody that so far our office has not received any formal complaint. Pwede silang dumiretso sa mga DOLE offices namin. Meron kaming city, municipal, provincial, and regional offices, at pwede rin sila magreklamo.
According to Bello, an employee cannot be forced to be inoculated. However, the Labor Secretary encouraged workers to take the COVID-19 shots if the opportunity arises. He adds that the companies that will force an employee to get vaccinated or will not allow employees to report for work if they have not yet received COVID-19 shots will be sanctioned. He adds that companies that will force an employee to get vaccinated or will not allow employees to report for work if they have not yet received COVID-19 shots will be sanctioned. He also reminds Filipino workers that they may report errant employers to DOLE Hotline 1349. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later again at 1 in the afternoon as we continue to monitor today's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.